It all started with Stephen A. Smith, who lit a firestorm when he argued that Mayweather's greatness was overstated and that Sugar Ray Leonard, in his view, was the superior fighter. Smith admitted Floyd was brilliant defensively, a savant in the ring with unmatched reflexes and tactical genius, but he framed Floyd's style as safe, suggesting that Leonard carried more excitement, more daring, and more risk-taking that captured the public's imagination in ways Floyd never quite managed. To add insult to injury, Smith dismissed Floyd's iconic victory over Canelo Alvarez, reminding fans that Canelo was just 22 at the time, still green, and not the polished superstar he would later become. For Smith, Mayweather dominated best as a lightweight, but at welterweight and beyond. His greatness, though undeniable, wasn't as absolute. Those words hit hard. Floyd Mayweather has never been one to take criticism lightly. The suggestion that Crawford's win over Canelo is more impressive than his own was enough to set off a storm. Mayweather pushed back, reminding everyone that throughout the latter half of his career, he often fought with one hand compromised, constantly breaking his hands in fights and still remaining undefeated. His brilliance wasn't just skill, it was surviving and thriving in the toughest conditions, adjusting to whatever came his way, and still making every opponent look ordinary. For Mayweather, dismissing his dominance because of Canelo's youth was nothing but an excuse. He argued that schooling Canelo the way he did wasn't about Canelo's agit, it was about skill, composure, and mastery that no one else in that era could replicate. Yet the comparisons to Crawford refused to die down. The Wood Bay entered the debate with a balanced perspective, acknowledging Crawford's demolition of Canelo as extraordinary but cautioning against rewriting history. Bay reminded fans that Floyd, too, dominated Canelo. And though it came when Canelo was younger, it was still a masterclass performance. Crawford's style, he explained, carries a different energy. While Floyd was precise, elusive, and untouchable, Crawford fights with a certain defiance, saying, "I'm coming at you. You can't beat me" energy that resonates with fans, particularly the Mexican fan base that values fighters who not only win, but impose their will. Floyd's brilliance left opponents saying, "I couldn't hit him," while Crawford leaves them admitting, "He came right at me and beat me down," for casual fans. Crawford's approach feels more entertaining, more visceral, but for purists, Floyd's performance remains unmatched in technical perfection. Trainer Boosie Ennis defended Crawford with passion, praising him for taking risks Mayweather often avoided. He insisted that greatness comes not only from skill but from daring to face the best without hesitation, something Crawford has done consistently. For Ennis, Crawford thrives in risk, and that separates him from many of his contemporaries. Still, he also admitted that Crawford's work may already be complete. Having conquered multiple divisions and achieved undisputed glory, he suggested Crawford might consider retiring now, while at the top, rather than risk decline. Crawford's own trainer, Brian "Biomac" McIntyre, disagreed. He sees 2 or 3 more big fights left for his star, even entertaining the possibility of Crawford jumping to 160 pounds to capture more glory. Not because he needs validation, but because cementing legacy is what drives fighters of his caliber. Timothy Bradley looked at Crawford's career from another angle. He reminded fans that Crawford's rise wasn't just about belts, but about inspiring the next generation. For Bradley, Crawford is living proof that perseverance, courage, and change can defy doubt. Bradley recalled Crawford's near-death experience in 2008. When a bullet through a window forced him to reconsider his path, Crawford chose change, discipline, and boxing, and in doing so, became a model for young fighters everywhere. Bradley explained that Crawford represents more than victories. He represents transformation, the spirit of never giving up, and the discipline boxing demands. But as Crawford's star shines brighter, Mayweather's shadow looms large. Oladipo highlighted Floyd's unique genius not just as a boxer, but as a businessman. He built 2 personas: Pretty Boy Floyd, the fearless knockout artist, and Money Mayweather, the defensive wizard and marketing mastermind. His pay-per-view numbers shattered records. His ability to turn every fight into a global spectacle made him more than an athlete. he became a cultural icon. For Oladipo, Floyd's undefeated record speaks louder than any criticism. Unbeaten is unbeaten, he insisted, and no one can erase that. Critics may argue about timing, about opponents past their prime, but Mayweather solved every puzzle placed in front of him. As Oladipo put it, Floyd's genius was in his ability to work you out, to study and dismantle opponents so thoroughly that by round 3, the fight was already over in his mind. Still, the debate rages on. Some, like Robert Garcia, argue that Crawford has accomplished things Floyd never did, namely becoming undisputed across multiple divisions. Pacquiao achieved it, Crawford achieved it, but Floyd, despite his dominance, never unified all the belts. For Garcia, that matters. And yet, when imagining a head-to-head clash, Garcia leaned toward Floyd, citing his timing, defense, and ring IQ as overwhelming weapons that even Crawford might not solve. Greg Hackett echoed this, pointing to Floyd's flawless performance against Canelo as something closer to perfection than Crawford's more aggressive but hittable style. For Hackett, Crawford's explosiveness is remarkable, but Floyd's calculated brilliance remains untouchable. Stephen A. Smith, for all his criticism of Floyd, couldn't deny Crawford's performance against Canelo was a spectacle. One of the most entertaining boxing displays in recent memory. He praised Crawford not only for winning, but for giving fans the kind of fight they crave, daring and unforgettable. Veteran journalist Dan Rafael closed the circle, reminding everyone that Crawford no longer needs validation. His place in history is secure. The question now is whether he will continue to fight for more glory or choose to protect the legacy he has. It's already cemented, and so the debate stands at a boiling point. Mayweather, the master of perfection, who built an empire around defensive genius and undefeated brilliance. Crawford, the fearless warrior who takes risks, seeks danger, and conquers divisions with relentless determination. Prime against prime, it's a dream fight fans will argue about for generations. But right now, as the conversations swirl, one truth remains unshakable. Both men have carved themselves into the fabric of boxing history. Whether one prefers the cautious brilliance of Mayweather or the ferocious energy of Crawford, what unites them is greatness, the kind that leaves no room for doubt. But what about you? Do you believe Terence Crawford's win over Canelo has elevated him above Floyd Mayweather in the all-time conversation? Or does Mayweather's 50-0 record, his technical mastery, and his pay-per-view empire still make him untouchable? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest debates in boxing history.